One, follow the money. Who's trying to get you to do what? Are they trying to sell you things? Because if they're trying to sell you things, don't go for it usually. There's these people who want you to be on this diet, but then you have to supplement for all the things that you need. You don't need most of that stuff. So lions eat the same thing. Elephants eat the same thing. You feed elephants differently than you feed lions, but you don't feed, in general, different elephants different things. They eat the same thing. So I try and avoid the middleman. How do you get your nutrients? From plants, from plant-based things. And if you eat the animals eat the plants, and you get it, and then you've got the middleman in there. Get rid of the middleman. You don't need it. I don't want to see you. I want you healthier. I want you off these medicines so you don't have to spend the money.
So that was Kim Scheuer, and she is this week's guest on the Alter Your Health podcast, your source of information and inspiration to promote the holistic transformation of your health and the health of our planet. And my name is Dr. Benjamin Alter. I'm the host of this podcast, and I'm also a licensed naturopathic physician practicing holistic lifestyle medicine worldwide with my beloved wife, Dr. Susanna Alter. Find out more and get yourself scheduled for a complimentary 15-minute exploratory call at www.alter.health. I'm so excited to dive into this week's conversation with our guest, Kim. Dr. Kim Scheuer is a medical doctor practicing lifestyle medicine as well. And we talk about Kim's journey into the field of lifestyle medicine, because she didn't always walk the walk and talk the talk. But she talks about the insight that she had in 2011 when she was just about the age of her mother, when her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. We talk about that insight and how she shifted her lifestyle, shifted her diet in a way that promoted health. And in doing so, naturally and seemingly effortlessly released, I think she said 50 pounds. And I can't imagine Kim, the petite woman in this conversation, being 50 pounds heavier. So she reclaimed her natural weight effortlessly, just as a natural byproduct of living a healthy, whole food, plant-based lifestyle. So in this conversation, we talk about some of the science of whole food, plant-based nutrition. We geek out a little bit, but we also try to keep it really simple, applicable, straightforward, because let's face it, it's really not that complicated eating real food. So really enjoyed getting to know Kim Scheuer, fellow physician in the area. She practices in Aspen, and she has two kind of clinics that she practices out of. Her lifestyle medicine clinic is called Docs Lifestyle Medicine, DOKS Lifestyle Medicine. You can find out more at dokslifestylemedicine.com. The DO, by the way, is Derek Olson, who is her partner in practice and in life. And then the KS is Kim Scheuer. And they together practice lifestyle medicine. Seems like a really awesome thing that they're doing. So Kim exudes health and vitality and energy. You're going to love this conversation. Before we dive in, hit the subscribe button, leave a rating, leave a comment, leave a review if you haven't done so already. I would be so grateful. It really helps me learn and grow and evolve as a human being. That's what it's all about. Also, maybe there's someone in your life that you know who is on a whole food plant-based journey, making those changes, looking for a little support and inspiration. Why don't you send off this conversation, this episode, to them in a text, an email, or maybe in a conversation face-to-face. Let them know what's going on here on the Alter Your Health podcast. So sit back, relax, take a breath, put your feet on the ground, and enjoy this conversation with our guest, Dr. Kim Scheuer. Well, hi, Dr. Kim. Welcome to the Alter Your Health podcast.
Thank you.
So happy that you've driven down Valley and sharing this hour with me, and excited to get to know you and the work that you're doing and kind of how you got into it.
Okay.
So maybe just starting at when you decided to become a doctor. What inspired you to move in that direction in your life?
Okay. I've always loved blood and guts and gore and helping people. So I knew from very, very young I wanted to be a doctor. But I wanted to play first, so I became a teacher of the deaf. I went to the Peace Corps, traveled around the world, and then finally decided to become a doctor because I figured that would be my last thing that I would do. And I went to family practice. I went to University of Rochester Medical School, and after I had my master's in deaf education, and then went to residency in California. So I'm a family practitioner, and I spent many, many, many years doing traditional family practice. And then when I was about 47, I realized my mom had had breast cancer at 48. How was I going to prevent myself from getting breast cancer? And I also have a family history of colon cancer and some other things. So I started doing research and found that diet and lifestyle are a huge impact in health. Also, at the same time, a local friend of mine was going to nutrition school, and I'd been a vegetarian most of my life, but I was a Milky Way vegetarian. I was a junk food vegetarian. I was an unhealthy vegetarian. And so she did a 3-day food diary on me. And I thought, oh, I eat better than 80% of the world, or at least the Americans. And so I eat really well. And she came back and told me I ate like crap. So she cooked for me for a month. And I went whole food plant-based, started doing the research. Couldn't believe what I hadn't learned in medical school about diet and health and breast cancer prevention and other prevention of heart disease and diabetes and weight issues. And I'd been heavy all my life. The pounds flew off. My cholesterol, which was considered normal, plummeted. And I started, my energy was better. My athletic ability was better. I felt better. I felt lighter. I had to actually start eating more to not lose too much weight, which had never happened in 47 years. And started going to conferences like the International Plant-Based Healthcare Providers Conference and conferences from cardiologists and things, and started reading, read the China study, watched Forks Over Knives, and got into this and thought, this is amazing. Started using it with my patients, and for the first time was reversing diseases that I couldn't reverse before. I could never reverse diabetes. I could never reverse, make people healthier. And I would just stave off getting sicker instead of making them healthier. And I went into it. Then I got boarded in lifestyle medicine after a couple of years, and here I am.
Amazing. Yeah, so much to learn and know from that short little description of your journey into the medical field. And I'm just curious, beyond weight, were there any personal things, and beyond the family history of the breast cancer, were there any personal health issues that you were directly addressing with the nutrition changes?
For me, the changes were weight control. I mean, I have struggled with I love to eat, and I've struggled with my weight all my life. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling great, losing weight, not having to restrict eating. I could eat as much as I want and not have to worry about my weight. And again, my athletic performance got better. My energy got better. Instead of waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, just dreading getting up to go to work and all that, I'd be like, whoop, I'm awake. Let's go walk the dogs.
Yeah. So when you're talking about weight, just because
Sure.
I'm looking at you now, we just met, and
Yeah.
I'm happy to have met. I can't picture you overweight. So what was your weight? And
So I was about 50 pounds heavier.
Wow.
For much of my life, and then I got down to only about 20, 30 pounds heavier, and could maintain that, but it was a struggle. I've done everything from the Diet Center, which was East Coast West Weight Watchers. I've restricted my eating. I always thought, if I could just stop eating, like people can stop smoking cigarettes, it'd be easy.
Totally. And that is obviously, that works to some degree for some period of time, but
it's not healthy.
Yeah. And fasting is a thing, but then it's like, what do you do when you're not fasting?
Right. And for people who have food addiction like I do, it was so nice to change over to an addiction to healthy food. I mean, before I started doing this, before my friend cooked for me for the month, And what she did actually was she made me have a green smoothie. And I was like, I am not having that, because I couldn't eat anything. I didn't like anything green. I didn't like salads. I didn't like, I was a cheese-aholic. I was a junk food-aholic, a Milky Way-aholic. And when she made this green juice for me, I was like, I can't taste that. Ugh, it has cucumber and kale and other stuff in it. And she made me taste it, and I tasted it. It was delicious. So for the first month, I ate her food, but I did smoothies also. And it adjusted my palate so that after a couple of weeks, I'm like, I want a salad, which never would have come out of my mouth before then.
I've heard it a few times from other clients. Like, I can't believe I'm actually enjoying this. Yeah. And obviously there's those weeks where it's not fully enjoyable, but then like something happens.
It flips, and it's amazing. So now I crave healthy foods. And what I do, I'm still a chocoholic, so I keep it out of my house. I don't have anything that I know I would eat in an inappropriate way in my house. But also cheeses is interesting, because I probably had cheese 5 or 6 times a day. Incredibly unhealthy for somebody who's trying to prevent breast cancer and heart disease and obesity and all that. And a year after I started doing this, I went to Italy. So for the first 4 days, I ate vegetarian again and had, the cheeses. And I gained so much weight. I was bloated. I was exhausted. I'm sitting there feeling terrible. I'll never go back. I was like, I used to feel like that all the time, and that was my normal.
Totally. We get so accustomed, and
gosh.
it's just amazing how resilient and adaptive the body is to make us feel somewhat comfortable in our extreme disease. And then, then disease happens, and the later stages, that's what you see in your clinic, I'm sure.
The other thing that actually happened to me, because you asked about other things that happened, was because I have some osteoporosis in my family, and I'd already been diagnosed with osteopenia. And 2 years after I started this lifestyle, which I didn't change my exercise very much, because I was a big exerciser, but I'm also a terrible patient. So I'm not really great about taking supplements, and I'm not really great about doing my weight-bearing exercises, which I'm trying to be better about, which is important. But so I hadn't really changed anything but the diet in the 2 years. And I got my bone density, and my bone density had gone up. And I was like, wait, the machine's wrong. Something's wrong with that. That's not right. And then I started doing the research on bone density and diet. And just appalling to me that we're not taught that the countries that eat more dairy have more osteoporosis.
We're taught the complete opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then my father also ended up with prostate cancer. I'm like, stop drinking the milk. Stop doing certain things. And,
So back to your mom, did she treat her breast cancer? How did she do? Or
she's doing well.
She's doing well.
My mom and my grandmother were diagnosed with breast and colon cancer on the same day, the day before I was supposed to go to medical school. So I literally drove my stuff up, dropped it, and came back and, took care of them for a month. And they both did well. My mom had a mastectomy. She had chemo and radiation, because she had a pretty aggressive tumor that they had a normal mammogram 6 months earlier, less than 6 months earlier. And so helping her with some of the things I've learned, alcohol has a component to breast cancer, things like that. Trying to teach my family has been good. My father happens to be a cardiologist, and in his 80s, when I first started doing this, was like, well, if I was in my 40s, I'd change my diet, but why should I do it now? Alzheimer's, heart disease, prostate cancer.
To be with me, your daughter who you love so much.
But he's finally coming around, because I went to plenty of conferences where cardiologists were, and I'm like, Dad, the head of the American College of Cardiology says you should do this, or you're not reading the research right. And he's now very much switching over. So it's really nice.
Yeah, I'd love to talk at some point, maybe now, I guess now is as good a time as any, to the topic of like family and friends and that conversation, because I know I'm at a dinner table all the time where people are complaining about their ailments
Yeah.
and disease and, eating their French fries and cheeseburgers and
Yep.
washing it down with a glass of red wine or
Yeah.
something like that. And like what's your strategy for bridging that conversation, especially with those that are close to you?
It's a difficult one
Yeah.
because they're so enmeshed in their ways. So first is being a role model. Just be a role model. I've converted a lot of people just by watching how my health has changed, and so they look at me, they see me lose weight, be happier, be healthier, look better, and they're like, what are you doing? So then they ask me. For the family, I try to get them to watch some movies. Like, I have some athletic people in the family, so The Game Changers has been amazing. And so if you haven't seen The Game Changers and you're athletic or male or female or not athletic, watch this movie.
Or human.
Yeah, human, watch this movie. I think it's a really good one because it's a different focus versus it's about recovery and performance, whereas some people get turned off with the preachiness. They don't want to hear some other ones. But I love Forks Over Knives, What the Health, How Not to Die, information from Dr. Greger. I actually tell them to go to nutritionfacts.org and look up different things. And then when I go home, this is the way I'm going to eat. I'll cook my own. I can cook for you. This is what I'm going to do. Or let's go to restaurants, and I'll go to Happy Cow and we'll go find some healthier restaurants where I can eat what I want and they can eat what they want, or they can try some of the food I'm eating that's delicious, and they realize that's not so bad looking. That's not so bad tasting. This isn't giving up things. It's actually, making you feel a little bit better by eating healthier. And so I try it that way. And then I have a nephew who I'm going to try and work on in terms of the environment, because there's the environmental, it's his life that's going to be affected by climate change and all that. And so I'm going to try and get him through that. How do you want to live, and how do you want to treat animals, and so there are different ways for different people.
Totally. It seems like your energy about it is really compassionate and understanding, and I don't sense that you're forceful. You're pinning people against the wall and force feeding them tofu or anything.
I don't, but I have had patients who, know that I'm the one who wants them to eat whole food plant-based.
Yeah.
And so, for example, I had somebody contact me, but she doesn't want to change to a vegetarian lifestyle. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but why don't you, go to the place that you want to go to try and do it differently, which will tell them to be more plant-based anyways. But why don't you read The End of Dieting by Joel Fuhrman, or How Not to Diet, which is coming out by Dr. Greger. I'm so excited about that.
I think it's just next week.
Yeah.
Put it on my Christmas list.
I know, it's
now.
on mine too. I can't wait. And I've seen his lecture a couple of times already, which is fantastic. And you can get that on nutritionfacts.org for free. And it's amazing information. Had I known all of this when I was growing up and struggling and trying to treat myself and my patients, my life would have been different. But I also have to remember, I wasn't ready to hear it for a while. So you just have to do it subtly and slowly, and it's changing. It's changing. Now there's, plant-based Thanksgivings, and there's plant-based recipe swaps. We have, when I lead a walk with a doc up in Aspen, and every time, well, how does your diet affect your skin? Or how does your diet affect your belly? Or how does your diet affect, this? And so
it's like, how doesn't it affect it? Yeah.
So every single patient that comes in, I talk to them about it, even if they have a cold. Okay, so are you eating your blueberries and your green, your green leafies and your multicolored foods to get all the micronutrients you need to be healthier? Just add them in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely gonna get into some clinical stuff. I'm looking forward to that and hearing some of your expertise there. But going back to like a little bit more about your story. So how did you land in Aspen? This is kind of our locals series of this podcast, and I'm just interested and curious about how this valley, this magnificent place, attracts people. So what's your story?
So I've been skiing here since I was about 4, but I never thought I'd be lucky enough to live in this area. And then after I finished residency, I was driving to Durango to a interview and flipped a car on Monarch Pass. Everybody was fine, but the car was destroyed, and it was like, forget it, I'm going to go skiing. So went to Breckenridge and thought, Frisco's a beautiful little town. It was a long time ago, not quite as crowded as it is now. And came to Aspen too to ski, and looked at different places like, would they hire me? I got hired in Breckenridge. I actually got offered a job the day I signed the contract for Breckenridge in Aspen. Couldn't believe it. I just happened to see that they wanted somebody. Went to Breckenridge because I honored my commitment, and decided I didn't want to be there after a very short period of time, but stayed the year. And called the Aspen people and said, I hope the person you hired worked out. And they said, no, he quit today. Come on over, please interview, because we wanted you anyways. And interviewed, got here, and never left.
Just clicked. Things clicked into place.
I love this place.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the small town feel with the large town options, because we have so many wonderful things coming to Aspen, music festivals, comedy festivals, physics institutes, it's just incredible information, music, and activity, and people.
So where did you grow up from which you from where you traveled to ski here when you were 4?
I was born in Pittsburgh, grew up till I was about 9 years old in Pittsburgh, and then moved to New York.
Okay. So your family made the trek to the mountains to introduce you to Aspen at age 4. And
my uncle was in the 10th Mountain Division, so introduced the whole family to skiing.
Wow.
And so he trained here. And so
very cool. Yeah. So it's kind of in your blood a little bit.
It is. I should have been born in Colorado.
Well, you're here now.
Yes.
Super cool. So kind of shifting gears towards your clinical practice, and you said at age 47, I don't know how old you are now, how many years ago that was, and you don't have to
8 years.
Share with 8 years ago now. You read the books, did the research, made the leap into the plant-based lifestyle. And did that immediately transition into your clinical practice changing, or what was the transition like?
I think within the first couple of months, because it affected me so dramatically. It affected so many parts of my life. I used to think that it was normal to have a bowel movement every 3 days. All of a sudden, I'm having a bowel movement 3 times a day. And I'm like, oh, and doing the research and discovering how that makes a difference in getting out the toxins and things. And just so many parts of it was so much of it was easy, and so much of it made sense. And then looking at the physiology, the biochemistry of it, I was just appalled that we weren't taught this. And I've always, because I've been a vegetarian most of my life, have worried about the animals and how they're treated. And I always thought, oh, I can have dairy because that's not hurting the animals, but it actually is.
So what was the reason for being vegetarian? Was it were you raised that way in your family?
No,
or?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I was switched from whole milk to skim milk young, because that's what the cardiologist said. My father, the cardiologist, said. But no, we ate animal products. In college, my college roommates decided they were all going vegan one day. And I was like, wait, don't throw out the soaps. Don't throw out the shampoo that's made with the animal stuff. I'll have that. But I'll go vegan with you. And that night I'll go vegetarian with you. I ordered a cheese pizza with pepperoni on it, and thought, wait, can't do that anymore. That was just what I was used to.
Yeah.
And so I went vegetarian. They lasted 2 weeks, and I lasted for years. And then going to Sri Lanka, where I was in the Peace Corps, it's a very Buddhist country, and if you looked at the meat, it was disgusting. And so it was very easy to be vegan or vegetarian over there. They were mostly vegan over there. And so it was easy to just say I'm Buddhist. And actually, I very much believe in the Buddhist philosophy. So it was quite easy to say, I'm not going to do that. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that dairy is very damaging to animals. And so I thought I was doing well, but I wasn't. And you can read The Cheese Trap by Neil Barnard. It's Dr. Neil Barnard. It's excellent for teaching you that.
For the cheese-aholics.
Yeah. And I was a cheese-aholic, let me tell you. But I don't miss it. And one of the things that I tell my patients is, first of all, start taking out things you don't even taste it on. So
things that you don't even
taste cheese. So if you've got a spaghetti and then you put on some Parmesan, but you don't even taste it because the spaghetti tastes so good, or a burrito and it has so much good salsa you don't even taste the difference. Get rid of that extra calorie and extra fat and extra chemicals and things. You just get rid of that.
It's so funny how so many people shake it on their pizza and
they don't even taste it.
And I'm like, yeah, what is that for? Cheese on your cheese?
Right.
Because
exactly. So take it out, if you have a sandwich that has lots of really good things in it and a slice of cheese, take out the cheese and see if you taste the difference. If you don't taste the difference, keep the cheese out. And that's how I try and tell my patients to start it if they're interested but not really to go full bore. But
that's a good trick for the cheese. So your patients that you were seeing, like I'm sure you had your base of patients, and then they came to see you one day, and the conversation was totally different. One day it was, maybe here, take this pill or this supplement, or like consider, do this. And then the next day it was, hey, take out the cheese from your sandwich.
So a couple of things changed in the way I talk to my patients. One is, I love the cartoon that Dr. Ornish puts out where you have and a lot of people use it now, but the faucet where the faucet's on and the water's overflowing on the floor.
Yeah, I think I didn't know it was Dr. Ornish's. I think I saw Dr. Gregor.
Right, Gregor's used it, but I think it was Ornish that started. I'm not sure, but one of those guys. And, so you're sitting there mopping up the floor, but the faucet's still on. And I decided I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to give things to mop up the floor without going to the root cause of the issue and turning off the faucet. So that was a big thing. And then, then I had a physician call me out of the blue because he'd heard I was plant-based and showed me a book called The 4-Leaf Guide to Vibrant Health. I don't know if you know that, but it's a really good, very small book that's made for physicians and healthcare providers and also for lay people. And it just talks about everything about how your diet affects your health. And it has in there a really quick 4-leaf checkoff list that I can give to my patients as a vital sign. So I use it as a vital sign and I just watch it, and it monitors. It just asks you, how many pieces of fruit do you eat a day? How many vegetables servings do you have a day? How many grains and beans do you have a day? Do you, and it goes through how many dairy products do you have a day that are solid, like cheese and milk and, cheese and butter and yogurt, things like that, ice creams. How many glasses of milk do you have a day? And how many pieces of meat, poultry, or fish do you have a day? And it scales it. And so there's a scale of anything from horrible diet to better than most, which is what I started at, which is pretty bad actually, but it's better than most, to it goes all the way up to 4-leaf, which is the healthiest you can eat, which is great. And I use it takes 2 minutes for my patients to fill out. I put it in my system and then I monitor it. And so somebody will go from a -7 or a -10 up to a 32 in a couple of weeks. And they'll come back in and I'll say, try and do this and, eat the healthier foods and avoid the unhealthier foods. And they come back and their sleeping is better. Their constipation is gone. Their body aches are better. Their weight is down. Their blood pressure is down. And we can correlate that to what they're eating. And so they can actually see, oh, my blood pressure went from 148 over 82 to now 120 over 74 in 2 weeks, just changing my diet. And look at and they can watch that and follow it. And it's so helpful.
Yeah, it sounds like a good little biofeedback strategy.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, do you have a lot of your patients do food journaling or food diary, or just that kind of check-in?
Some.
Yeah.
So if they are trying to lose weight, I definitely have them food diary. If they are having issues where they're thinking they're eating well, but they're really not, because I have so many people who think they're eating healthy. And I point out, no, this isn't healthy and this isn't healthy. So it depends on where they come in and what they come in for, and where we are in their treatment. But it makes a huge, I have so many people, I've had diabetics who've been on insulin, who get off their insulin in 2 weeks, and their hemoglobin A1C in the next 3 months goes down dramatically. I've had people lose weight, which they never thought they would do. Fascinatingly, I've had people who I never thought would do this, who I've talked to, and do it. And then people I think will do it, they don't do it. But, the ones who you can't know who's going to actually change their life. And it's amazing when they do. And then they're at work and their coworkers see them and they're like, what are you doing? Oh, I saw her. And then you get word of mouth, and it's a great way to show people. I'm
sure there's still patients and that come to you and just want a pill.
Absolutely.
Right? So how do you navigate that conversation? Like, oh, I'm going to give you the rags to mop up the floor.
Right.
But like, how do you deal with that?
Ultimately, it's their choice.
Yeah.
And ultimately, and I say that, I can give you that cholesterol medicine to take down your cholesterol, but it's not affecting all the other parts of your body, your endothelial cells, your this, your that, it's not preventing the Alzheimer's that you could prevent by doing it this way. And you're not going to take it after a week or two. You're going to stop because of money, because of side effects. So it's up to you. But my goal is to educate, and your goal is to make the decision. And I promise you, I will be asking you this each time you come. It doesn't matter what you're coming in for. You're going to be asked this question. And I want you to do the research. So I'm going to give you homework. And you watch these movies. You read these books. You go online and get to these places. And I highly suggest you subscribe to Nutrition Facts and ask them to send you stuff at least once a week so you can watch that and get reminded. Because we're so often reminded of the bad stuff. We're inundated with commercials and alternative facts in nutrition, and in our area, you need your protein, your animal protein. You need to go keto or paleo or this or that. And I try just to educate that. I can give you chemotherapy and have you lose weight. That's not sustainable, not healthy. I can give you, I want you to be on a sustainable, healthy thing for you, for the environment, for the world.
Yeah, so 100%. Yeah. Do you know the work of Juliana Hever and Ray Kerneiss? They're publishing a book about eating the low protein diet. They're not calling it the low protein diet, but the health span solution. And it's just fascinating how what we have been brainwashed is the opposite of the truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell somebody, who comes in and is told, like, they have diabetes, that they have to avoid fruit, that they have to eat fruit. Yeah. And I just talk to people and say, what you've been doing, how's it working? Oh, it's not working so well. You're going up on your insulin, you're going up on your metformin. Try this for a month. But talk to me carefully, because if you're on blood pressure meds, if you're on diabetic meds, if you actually do what I say, you're going to end up feeling badly if we don't take those meds down. And the goal is to take those meds down. So talk to me and make sure that you eat enough, that your sugar's not dropping, that your blood pressure's not dropping. Our goal is to get you off the meds. And so many people want to get off the meds. And so that's helpful to go that way.
Totally. So let's talk about the meds
sure.
that are, in your experience, the easiest to get off of, maybe, and then those that might be the more challenging ones to get off. And the meds and the conditions that we're reversing otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the challenge has to do with the individual. Are they willing to try this and actually really do it, and not lie to themselves and lie to me to actually do it? So I think that blood pressure meds are really easy to get off of if they actually go whole food plant-based and stop getting the extra salt. But a lot of people don't understand that the salt is in the packaged foods. So we go through package, how to read packages, and I in my traditional office I do that, but in my lifestyle medicine practice we go to the home and we just take it out of the closet and say, look how much sodium's in there. If there's more sodium than calories, you can't have it, and we empty out their fridges and their cabinets. So I think overall, some of the blood pressure meds are very easy to get off of if they're not a type 1 or 1.5 diabetic. But even if they're type 1 or 1.5 diabetic, they can improve their insulin sensitivity.
You mean blood sugar meds?
Yeah.
You said blood pressure meds.
Blood pressure and diabetic meds.
And blood sugar meds.
And blood sugar meds, yeah. So, you can decrease the number of meds on a lot of people. I do have some people who come in and want to get off of everything, but if they have active heart disease, I'm like, there is reason for good meds. There's reason, you've had a heart attack. We know you have stuff going on in your vessels. Let's change your diet, and eventually maybe we can get off of some of this, but your inflammatory markers have to come down. Your cholesterol has to be, instead of your total cholesterol being less than 200, you need to be less than 150. And your LDL has to be not just less than 100, but less than 70 or 60, without meds. And so I use the meds as I need to, because some people do need them, especially if they've already had proven heart disease or strokes or things like that. But, and then people who are rheumatoid arthritis, who have arthritic issues, their inflammation comes down, so they can start using less meds. People with Crohn's disease can start using less meds. And so it's not just affecting some of the chronic diseases that we're aware of, hypertension, cholesterol.
Kind of the metabolic issues.
Right. But it also affects inflammation, which is huge. Mm-hmm. I've also found it very helpful in some people with depression. It makes a difference on your gut microbiome. And so if somebody wants to get off meds, I give them a choice. You really, really want to change your life. This is what you really, really need to do. You need to eat healthier, exercise more, do some meditation, get into some groups and do some volunteering and get involved with the community and do some gratitude work. If you don't do that, if you don't do the work, I can't get you off the meds.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you often have these conversations with your patients, these real down to earth,
yes,
honest, raw, what's going on? What are you actually going to do? Because I think most people, myself included, probably tell people what they want to hear. So I
try not to.
Remind your patients that you don't want to hear what they want to tell you. You want to hear the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they can make their own decisions. And, if they're going to make those decisions, it's fine. It's like I tell my motorcyclists, you're going to ride a motorcycle, fine, wear a helmet and fill out your donor card, please.
Yeah.
But
totally. So food is huge. What, out of all the people that you're talking to about food, all your patients, what's the main thing that you think people are confused about having to do with food?
There is so many. Protein is one, that they need tons of protein, which is so not true. If you eat a plant-based diet, even if you're athletic, you just have to eat more calories. That diabetes is caused by too much sugar, so I've got to not eat carbs if I'm diabetic. Well, you shouldn't eat simple carbs, but you do need to eat complex carbs. And the issue is, for insulin resistance, is intramyocellular fat. So if you're going to sit there and eat fatty foods, you're not going to help your diabetes and your insulin resistance. That's another one. Salt. That salt is, if you don't put table salt on, you're fine. No, that's not true. That French fries are a vegetable. Oil is a big issue. People think that, spraying their thing with Pam is fine because there's no calories. Well, you're not spraying it with, I think it's either a third or a quarter of a second spray is what is considered 0 calories, but it's 100% fat, so It always has calories.
Yeah.
So
talk. It's funny. I've had many plant-based doctors on the podcast. I don't think that I've taken the dive into oil too much. I know I have personally in a couple instances, but I'd like to hear your take on oil and the main reasons to avoid oil from your perspective, aside from, but because a lot of people say, oh yeah, it's 100% fat, but I need that fat.
We do need fat. There's no
Yeah.
question. But we don't need as much fat as we think we do, and we don't need extra fat. And so oil, it's 120 calories per teaspoon,
Tablespoon, I think. Yeah.
and I have learned a lot about calorie density. I am much more a proponent of high nutrient density, low calorie. And so, unfortunately, oil is very high calorie and not as much nutrient density. I find that people are misunderstanding about coconut oil, which is a huge amount of saturated fat. So I try not to use that. There's cooking that affects oil. There's oil in things that you don't see. But if you have oil, like an oil and vinegar on your salad, that 400 calories of salad that would be a huge bowl now comes down to a small amount, and you're having a much higher percentage of calories of pure fat. And I like avocados. I like olives, as long as you don't have too much, and depending on what your illness is or what your health status is. I like sunflowers, but I don't like sunflower oil. I don't like olive oil. I don't like avocado oil as much, because we're meant to eat whole foods. And when you take out the fiber, that's a problem, because we're not protein deficient in this country. We're fiber deficient in this country. That's a big issue. So you want the fiber to stop insulin spikes, to stop, a rapid increase of calories into your system and insulin spikes. You want to, especially if you're trying to stay thin and trim and healthy, not eat as much oil. Now, if you're a major athlete who needs some more calories, I'd rather you have peanuts than peanut oil. I'd rather you have avocado than avocado oil. So, but if you're end stage, if you're diabetic and trying to get off your insulin or your metformin or other meds, I don't want that huge amount of intramyocellular fat. So we got to take down the amount of fat you're eating. If you are in stage heart disease, I want to decrease. I want you to have some nuts and seeds, but a handful a day, not a ton of it, and not a ton in oil form. So
yeah,
that's
thank you. And I think that the argument is, like, oh, well, this extra virgin olive oil is cold pressed and it's rich in bioflavonoids and polyphenols, and I always say yes, and olives are richer.
Correct. And it has the other things that go with it to help your body use it appropriately.
Correct. Yeah. And, it's just interesting to also consider that the fresh olive oil that you buy at the store, get off the shelf, has been in the bottle for however many months or years. Right. And then it sits on your countertop for however many months or years. And that oxidation is a thing.
Absolutely.
Especially when we expose to heat and inside of our blood vessels. And man, when I was just home with family for Thanksgiving, we're oil free. We're oil free in this household, but
me too.
We had some oily mushrooms on our Thanksgiving dinner, and thank you, brother-in-law, for cooking them. They were delicious. But I was washing the dishes, and it was like I needed to soap up the sponge every 30 seconds. And it's just to think about that in our vascular system is just...
And it affects the endothelial lining. And the endothelial lining is so important for your vascular system. It disrupts that. And that's what helps us stay healthy, keep our blood pressure down, keep blood flowing to the right places where it needs to go, keep our cholesterol, our risk of heart disease down. And you see that, and you're like wiping it off with a napkin. And it's just... if you can't get it off that way, how are you getting it off inside?
So how do you get it off inside? What are your kind of tips for someone who is maybe, listening to this and is used to, coconut oil on everything or olive oil on everything? What are your tips for going cold turkey or cold oil?
So use that extra coconut oil you have on your skin. Great. Use that for that or whatever. But and then give the stuff that you don't like to people that you aren't using anymore to people you don't like. But there's lots of different ways to cook without oil. So using and I'm not a great cook, so this is hard for me, but using just vegetable broth, that
Oh,
you make on
yeah,
your own, or dry frying certain, vegetables and things like that. You start to not even taste the difference.
totally.
You can't even taste it. So why are you putting extra calories, extra fat, extra unhealthy stuff on things if you don't even taste it? So that's one thing I try and tell people to do. If, like, was just overseas and couldn't eat as healthfully as I wanted to, and I came home and to clean out myself, I just started, making some really good green juices for the first week, to try and kickstart my body into being healthier again. When you do green juices, not juices, I don't like juices as much as I like smoothies. Yeah, so I meant green smoothies. So I have my green smoothies, but don't pound them. Don't drink them really fast, because then you're going to get insulin spikes too. So drink them slowly over the morning, and that's a better way to get it in. But I just come home and, like, give me a huge salad with no oil on it. Give me give me my smoothies back, and you do better.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that the times where I do have an oily meal,
Yeah.
I
Just,
don't feel that good.
yeah.
And, I think that another misconception is that we need oil for healthy skin
No.
and stuff like
You
that.
need
And
hydration for healthy skin.
yeah, I mean, here
With
we are
water.
in Colorado, and I don't put anything on my skin,
Right.
and I grew up with dry, flaky skin,
Yeah.
and I grew up in the desert also. And
Yeah, you
yeah,
wouldn't know.
it's just some of these things that we have come to believe as true just simply aren't.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard because people look towards the medical profession and healthcare providers for the information, but most of them get it from the same media sources that they get it from. And I actually started to think, oh, it's getting so much better. Maybe what I'm telling people isn't, they already know it. It's not worth hearing. But I just had a friend of mine who brought her daughter to a provider in the valley, who, her daughter is plant based, and just had a growth spurt, grew 4 inches, gained 15 pounds of muscle, is a super athlete in her school, and was told, how are you getting your protein? You need to do blood work, because I don't believe that you're eating healthy enough. And they made her do blood work, which is absolutely stunningly perfect. And I just thought, this is sad that we're taught so wrong, and we get all the wrong information. And it's just like the cigarette industry used to use the media and the lawyers to confuse people. Now it's happening with the food industry. So you got to follow the money and keep trying to teach people.
I really do think that's exactly the case. I think that there is a lot of intentional confusion
Mm-hmm.
being maintained when the way I see it, and I know the way you see it, is just so clear and simple. I think that nutrition is this, we can dig deep into the nuances of biochemistry and whatnot, and things get confusing. But taking a step backwards, things are really simple. But when you look at the nutrition section at a bookstore or anything like that, or the supplement aisle
Mm-hmm.
at a health food store, it doesn't seem or feel simple.
Right.
Yeah.
But it really is. It's overwhelming, and it's meant to be overwhelming to confuse people. And if you just go to the research and to the basics, it makes so much more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for those people who do like to think that the confusing, complex stuff is necessary, um, like genetics and all of these things, like, oh, but I've got this genotype,
Right.
and like, how do you talk to them about this kind of thing? Because I'm up against that quite a bit myself, is like, oh, but everyone's different, and
Yeah.
bioindividuality,
Right.
and
So lions eat the same thing.
yeah.
You know, tigers, elephants eat the same thing. So there's a couple of things I use. One, follow the money. Who's trying to get you to do what? Are they trying to sell you things? Because if they're trying to sell you things, don't go for it, usually. There's these people who want you to be on this diet, but then you have to supplement for all the things that you need.
Well, I know that. I know some of those guys.
Yeah. And you know, you don't need most of that stuff. So try and follow the money. And then the individuality, again, You feed elephants differently than you feed lions, but you don't feed in general different elephants different things. They eat the same thing. So I try and avoid the middleman. You eat so how do you get your nutrients from plants, from plant-based things? And if you eat the animals eat the plants and you get it, and then you've got the middleman in there. Get rid of the middleman. You don't need it. Um, that's one thing that I try and suggest people do. Um, I try and tell them that I don't want to see you. I want you healthier. I want you off these medicines so you don't have to spend the money and go look at that.
Mhm.
And I kind of got off of what your question was,
No,
but
no worries. But speaking to that point of the middleman,
yeah,
on kind of a different topic,
yeah,
the middleman also accumulates a lot of toxins from our
absolutely.
environment. So it's like, yeah, they saturate the protein and the
Right,
fat, and they make nice steaks and stuff like
right,
that. But within that is all of the junk from our environment that we
absolutely.
don't want in our bodies.
Uh, uh,
We don't want to be at the top of the food chain.
right. And like people with fish oil, they think they need fish oil supplements. Well, the research shows that all of the contaminants in that are now making that fish oil aren't healthy. And so don't get your DHA and EPA from fish oil, sorry. You don't want, get rid of the middleman. Either do algae-based stuff or, get your 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 walnuts and your flax seeds and get
Yeah.
it from there. Get it from healthy eating.
Yeah. So taking a quick, short little dive into that topic,
Sure.
which is kind of a hot one, especially in the plant-based world,
Yeah.
the omega-3
Yeah.
DHA stuff. There's
It's
the camps,
mm-hmm.
the algae oil supplementation people, and then just a tablespoon or two of
Right.
flax. Where do you stand?
So basically what I try and tell people that 90% of the plant-based world says the exact same thing. So focus on that 90%. Some that 10% eat nuts, don't eat nuts. Eat, you know, this, don't eat that. Focus on the 90% and you'll get 90% of that. As we get older, there are people who can't manipulate the um,
EPA?
the EPA and as well. And there are a few people that don't have the genes to do that. But that's a small amount. It's kind of like the gluten thing too. There's a few people that are truly celiac that cannot do gluten. Then there's plenty of people who are gluten intolerant that they don't process gluten as well, but it's probably more that they're not processing all the other crap that's with the gluten. And so, you know, 90% is the same. Eat healthfully. Eat whole foods, whole food plant based, and don't eat too much. Eat what you need for physiology. Don't eat to eat, eat to nourish your body. And so, in terms of the DHA EPA, I think the research is out still. I certainly don't want Alzheimer's, and that's important for that. So I do flaxseed every day. I personally do a vegan EPA DHA once a week when I remember, and I'm not sure on that one.
And it's not your Alzheimer's that's keeping you from remembering.
Right? No, it's not. It's the fact that the
Yeah.
research isn't completely there, and I don't have the ability to find out if I'm somebody who can't convert well or not yet. And I don't love doing a lot of testing because you know if you're gonna eat healthy, you're gonna fix 90% of what you need, and or 90 more than 90% of what you need. And then there are certain people
Yeah.
that do need a little bit of extra tweaking,
Mhm.
but I don't think I'm one of them.
Yeah, I have seen some research about how diets high in omega-6
Mm-hmm.
fats decrease the conversion rate
Mm-hmm.
of
Right.
EPA to DHA.
Right.
So that increases your need for DHA. So if you
Absolutely.
eat more unhealthy fats,
Correct.
it makes sense that you need to eat more healthy
Healthy
fats. But on a whole food plant-based diet that's naturally low in fat,
Right.
our omega-3 requirement isn't the same as a omnivorous standard American
Right.
diet.
So if you came to me unhealthy, eating an unhealthy diet, I'd be more likely to say supplement, please.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Good answer. I'm with you all around there. So kind of wrapping things up,
Sure.
I'd like to kind of jump away from food and just talk about lifestyle as a
Sure.
whole. And you mentioned that you have like kind of two practices. You've
Hmm.
got like a clinical practice and a lifestyle medicine practice.
Yes.
So, what, I know what lifestyle medicine is, but how do you describe lifestyle medicine to the uninformed or the uninitiated?
Okay. So about 80% of chronic diseases in this country are lifestyle related. And so if you come into me saying, I have a chronic disease, heart disease, blood pressure issues, cholesterol issues, diabetes, obesity, um, many of those things, and you want to truly change your lifestyle. And lifestyle includes a bunch of things, but food is one, which we've talked about. Exercise is important. You need to move. Moving naturally is important. So look at the book, The Blue Zones, to see what those people have done. That's areas around the world that have the longest living and healthiest centenarians, people over 100. And there are 5 areas around the world. Ikaria, there's a Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Ikaria, Greece, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and Loma Linda, California. Completely different places, but they do live a certain lifestyle where they treat their bodies healthfully. So lifestyle is, as we said, food, the diet, the movement, and then there is a sense of community, a sense of of helping others and belonging. There's resting. You need to rest your body and your mind. So there is taking time to meditate and to do other. And this has all been proven. If you read Dean Ornish's book, Undo It, he talks about that. Um, Love more, move more, stress less, and uh, eat better, you know? So
Cool.
those are the basic things you need to do. In my traditional medical practice, which I'm now doing 2 days a week, um, it's great for me to keep into the traditional medicine, but I don't have the time to sit with my patients and really talk to them about that. So I decided to start living the lifestyle I tell my patients to live. And so I pulled out of being an owner and working 6, 7 days a week to doing what's called Doc's Lifestyle Medicine, DOKS. Um, Derek Olson is my partner in life and in this, and he's a hospice nurse who had some issues of his own after getting hit by a car. So, and he's doing lifestyle. He's learned lifestyle medicine, lost 60 pounds, got off of 4 out of 5 medicines, doing some of this. And myself, Kim Scheuer, so Doc's Lifestyle Medicine.
Oh, DOKS.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we run this, and this is where we have time to spend with the people. We one on one, sometimes in their home. We talk about all the different aspects of lifestyle. We help them where they need the help to improve their life and to be healthier. It's we have a general life program. We have diabetes, weight loss, and heart disease, and then we have individual things that you can meet us with. And so that's where I feel I make a lot of difference too, because I can go and help the person, but also their family. We go shopping together. You know, we learn how to shop and avoid the bad stuff. We learn how to set up your home. And it's so nice for me because I'm now living the lifestyle I've wanted to live, which is not just the food, not just the exercise, but everything else.
Kind of, by that you mean kind of the slower pace, the more connected,
The connectedness.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing that all the doctors get into medicine really wanting to obviously help people and do their service in the world, and the rate of burnout and yeah, it's
I felt like a just a data entry person because now I'm on the computer, you know, entering data, and that's not helping patients. And I have 10 to 15 minutes to work with somebody. And if I have somebody who comes in who has a chronic illness, but then somebody comes in with a huge laceration, I have to deal with the laceration first or the heart attack or whatever. And I feel torn. And here I'm one on one or one on family, or you know, hopefully we'll do some groups. Like I am involved in the CHIP program, the Complete Health Initiative program, which improvement program, which works with groups, because I think groups are also important. You need the community. So that's why we do the free stuff. We do the movies with docs. We're having one coming up Friday the, I can't remember, 13th or something. We're showing What the Health. We showed The Game Changers last month, and we showed Forks Over Knives before.
This is up in Aspen?
Up in Aspen, cool. At the Pitkin County Library. And that's where people come together who don't know each other. We do a plant-based recipe swap. You know, we have a plant-based recipe swap elsewhere, but we do a plant-based potluck and watch the movie, talk about it afterwards. And that's how I can give back too. And it's great to feel that connection to people who just wander in and say, what is this about? And
yeah. You know, I haven't made it up to that obviously in Aspen yet, but there's similar stuff, as I'm sure you know, happening down here in Carbondale. And I'm curious what the general feeling is in the community. Is it growing, expanding, catching on, or is it kind of like plateaued?
I think it's catching on slowly. I think the whole culture in this country is starting to shift much more than it was 10 years ago. More people are talking about it. When I go to these conferences, instead of 300 people, there's 1,500 sold out, you know, providers. And so it is starting to catch on, but we still get the resistance, the not wanting to change. Then, you know, you've got the money again, who's supporting whom. You know, we're not getting big broccoli being subsidized. We're getting the beef industry, the egg industry that, you know, subsidized. And my goal would be to get it out of the hospitals and out of the schools. I mean, it's insane that we serve bacon at our hospital. It's a class 1A carcinogen. It's wrong. And I'm trying to fight that culture. People say, well, they have the choice. I'm like, okay, then put the cigarette vending machines back in. It's the same class carcinogen. Why are you serving that? Why can't we switch out the vending machines from sodas to something healthier? And I want that in the schools. I want the parents and the teachers to teach the kids, or maybe we'll have to teach the kids to teach the parents and teachers. But it's unconscionable to me that it's in our school systems with developing minds, and it's in our hospitals.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are on the brink. I mean, I think we're all always talking about this change that's going to happen or is happening, and I think we are like smack dab in the midst of it. And your work and this podcast and all the listeners out there that are sharing this information in their own ways is truly, you know,
well, thank you for what
driving
you do.
the needle in the direction that we need to be going. Yeah. So where, a few things as we wrap things up, where do you see yourself in like 5 or 10 years? Do you kind of anticipate shifting wholly completely to the lifestyle medicine practice?
I'd love to, but that's not currently sustainable financially. I would like to do much more teaching of the community and group teaching. Like, I'd love to be on a farm where I can have my own dome and have all the foods and bring people in to see that.
Totally.
You know, so that's the way I'd like to go. I do like keeping my hand in the other traditional medicine because I think it is extremely important. You break your leg, you need not only the healthy lifestyle things to help you heal, but you do need, you know, may need surgery. You may need, you know, to put your bones back together. So there's good about traditional medicine, and I like keeping my brain in that too. Because I like.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm in a good balance right now, and we'll see how long I go that way. But I'd love to go more to lifestyle.
More to lifestyle, more to education.
Yes.
Well, we'll definitely have to stay in contact and collaborate about because I'm also called to be more in the community educating.
Yeah.
And that
I'd like to affect more people than one at a time.
Totally. And so where can people learn more about you, Dr. Kim Scheuer, and the lifestyle medicine practice?
Excellent. You can go to docslifestylemedicine.com. So DOKSL Lifestyle Medicine. It's all one word, lowercase, .com. And you can check us out there. You can call me at any time on my doc's number, which I can never remember. So you'll find that on my website. You can find me at Aspen Medical Care. which is my traditional practice, 970-920-0104. I've been doing that for 20 years, so that I do remember. But again, that's not where I'll have the time to really work with individuals or with people on this.
Got it. So are you, I'm curious, are you able to refer to yourself?
No.
No.
No. So if I have a patient who sees me at Aspen Medical Care, but wants to do lifestyle medicine, they will have to be transferred to another practitioner in my office for their traditional care, and then I can do the otherwise. But for example, like if I work up in Aspen and I have somebody who sees me up in Aspen for that and wants to get the information, but they live down in here, I've known Greg Feinsinger, so I send them his way, Dr. Greg Feinsinger. I've known some other people down here who do more lifestyle medicine, and I'll refer them that way. It's not about referring to me, it's about them getting the education that they need.
Yeah, I'm just curious about when you're having that conversation, someone's wanting the lifestyle medicine support, but it's like, well, I've got this thing over here, go to this website, give this woman a call.
And so on my website, I have a lot of resources. So you can learn a lot of this on your own. And in my practice, if they're really interested in lifestyle medicine, I give them I give them so much homework. And they look at the homework and they can, contact me through my regular practice on the homework that they've done. But if they need that more individual support, then I'll have to send them to some people, like a plant-based nutritionist or or a local physiatrist in town who knows how to, move the movement in the body stuff. But I prefer to do it myself because I love doing it. But there is some, conflict, and I don't want to cause any conflict of interest.
Yeah, well, you've got so many tools and gifts and talents, and it's like you have to like pick and choose what you can, with the time that you have, what you can offer. Well, I really have appreciated your time and your energy driving down and sitting here with me. I've enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more.
Nice getting to know you. Thank you for what you do. I looked at your website and I looked at your podcast. So it's excellent information. So.
Cool. Well, I anticipate keeping it going.
Good.
And
good. I will send more people your way too.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so happy to finally be connected and collaborate here in the Valley.
Yeah.
So
let's
be in
do
touch.
Some work together. Yeah.
All right. Well, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Until next time.
And health.